Greetings and welcome. This is a VR for Eddie's Cardboard Chaos for his Eddie Gives Back giveaway. I really enjoy Eddie's channel and his passion for collecting. Eddie's a teacher, which I have the utmost respect for what he does, and I believe his profession shows the character Eddie has. My wife is a teacher as well, Eddie. I think it's really amazing what you do. But for his VR, he would like us to tell the story of an athlete or sports figure that had to overcome some adversity, or a human interest story. So when you think about Indiana, basketball would be one of your first thoughts that would come to mind. But who is that one person that you would associate with Indiana basketball? John Wooden would instantly come to mind. Born in Hall, Indiana, he led Martinsville High School to a state championship in 1927 and led Purdue to a national championship in 1932. But he also played in an era when basketball was a part-time job, and you would probably associate him more with UCLA. Larry Bird and Oscar Robertson would also come to mind. They are two of the NBA's greatest players, but both played their NBA careers out of state, and for the Big O, he played his collegiate years out of state. There's Billy Keller, who led Washington to a state championship in 1966 and helped Purdue to a national title runner-up to John Wooden and UCLA. And then played on all three of the Pacers championship teams, but didn't match George McGinnis's individual accomplishments. On December 14, 2023, Basketball Hall of Famer George McGinnis passed away at the age of 73. It seems like when a Baseball Hall of Famer passes, there's a lot of tributes to that player. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that for McGinnis, and I truly think his story is a fascinating story and should be shared. A lot of this information is going to be from a 2017 article on NBA.com by Mark Monteith. But George McGinnis's father, Bernie McGinnis, in 1952 decided to leave his sharecropping job in Alabama for better work in a factory, as a construction worker, or in a steel mill in Chicago, where his three brothers and a sister lived. On the way, he decided to stop in Indianapolis to visit another sister, where her husband informed Bernie of a construction job that was hiring. The 6'7" Bernie dropped by the company and was hired on the spot. This change of plans would alter Indiana basketball forever. If the family would have continued to inner city Chicago instead of staying on the west side of Indianapolis, George may have played football, as basketball was not near as popular in Illinois as it was in Indy. He may have been lost to the streets, or he may have been wound up dead like a cousin who was killed in a random shooting. He definitely wouldn't have led Washington High School to an undefeated season and state championship in 1969, probably wouldn't have attended Indiana University and dominated the Big Ten, and probably wouldn't have helped the Pacers to two ABA championships in 1972 and 73. McGinnis said himself he may not even played basketball if they moved to Chicago. In 1956, George was 5 years old, and he and Bernie would watch Oscar Robertson-led Crispus Attucks High School second consecutive state championship, which would be the start of quote-unquote Hoosier hysteria. George would say from that moment they would shoot all day, and kids who had never picked up a basketball were playing basketball. Baskets were being hung everywhere from telephone poles to garages. Fast forward to high school in 1969, George McGinnis led Washington to the state championship when they became the second team in state history after the 56 Attucks team to finish undefeated. McGinnis, now 6'7" himself, set a state record by scoring 148 points over the final 4 games of the tournament. McGinnis was an obvious choice for Mr. Basketball. Now, Bernie McGinnis worked 2 jobs, one as a construction laborer and the other as a factory worker, and often missed George's games and hadn't been aware how good of a player his son really was. After the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series, he couldn't contain his fatherly pride and told his son, "Man, I knew you were good, but I didn't think you were that good." And that would be the last time Bernie would see his son play. 9 days later, at the age of 43, Bernie McGinnis was killed in a construction accident. The scaffolding on which he was standing while working at the Eli Lilly building collapsed. He fell straight to the ground more than 60 feet and died 90 minutes later at General Hospital. Bernie's salary was about $100 a week on the construction job and about the same in the factory. He was able to buy a $7,000 house along with the necessities his family needed. Nothing more. He would make the sacrifices for his family. George would recall that they wouldn't have enough meat in the house for 4 people, so his dad would cut the meat into 3 portions for his wife and 2 boys, and would make an onion sandwich for himself. The McGinnises would get a $2,000 settlement from the accident, and that didn't last long. George's mom had received a 3rd-grade education in Alabama and was ill-equipped to be the breadwinner of the family, but took domestic work and a job cleaning used appliances to support her children. George McGinnis would say he became a man the day his father died. It was also the day that his college career was put on notice. He announced he would attend Indiana University, but he knew he would have to turn pro as soon as possible. Highly motivated, McGinnis led the Big Ten in scoring and rebounding in his first and only varsity season at IU. He would sign with the Pacers as quickly as possible after the season ended for $30,000 and a $15,000 signing bonus. He stayed at IU and finished out his, if he had stayed at IU and finished out his college career under Bobby Knight, it was very likely he would have won an NCAA championship to go along with his high school and Pacers championships. Bobby Knight, who took over at Indiana soon after McGinnis left, would often joke with him, saying if he had stayed, he would have made more money as a pro because Knight would have made him play defense. His bonus and some of his salary went to a new home for his mom, and he was able to retire her. She still lived in that home at least until 2017. McGinnis would have a Hall of Fame career and then build a successful business, GM Supply. But best of all, he was able to take pride in having provided for his family in a manner that would have made his father proud. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your collection.